Does running your construction business ever feel like a one-sided, maybe unhealthy relationship? You're giving it everything you've got, your time, your energy, your money, your nights, your weekends, but it's not giving you the profits you deserve. Instead, you're stuck putting out fires, dealing with chaos, and wondering, is this just how it's going to be? Is this going to be another year of almost achieving your financial goals? What if you could make a few simple adjustments and build a business that supports you and your family instead of the other way around? This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast, where it's all about helping construction business owners eliminate chaos, maximize profit, and reclaim your freedom. I'm your host, Todd Dawalt, and today we're tackling a question that's top of mind for every construction business owner, which is, how do you maximize the profitability of your construction business? To help us answer that, we're joined by Michael Thorp, owner of Kitchen Ideas from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Michael took his remodeling business from somewhat inefficient and chaotic to streamlined and highly profitable. He's here to share how he shortened project durations by 25%, boosted his revenue by 30%, and achieved a 38% increase in profitability, all without sacrificing quality or burning out himself or his team. In this episode, you'll uncover the one process change that had the biggest impact on profitability for Michael, a few simple tools that will help you and your team save time and money. We talk about why empowering your team can be the key to driving better results and how to do that. You'll uncover a concept that Michael teaches to race car drivers and the surprising way that it applies to business. And here's the kicker. We'll unpack a tool that Michael uses to forecast revenue, reduce stress, and even plan a stress-free, guilt-free vacation. So if you're ready to learn how to reduce the stress and the chaos in your business and unlock its full profit potential, stick around for this episode of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. Enjoy. Michael, welcome to the podcast. How's it going today?
It's going good. How are you, Todd?
Doing great. We're going to be talking about kind of focusing our conversation around the theme of how do you maximize the profitability of a construction company. Before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your business, the name of your company, where you're located, and what kind of work you do.
The name of our company is Kitchen Ideas. We're located in Northeast Oklahoma. The name of our city is Tulsa. We do design and remodel. We heavily focus on kitchens. Those are our passion, but we also do master suites, sometimes full interior remodels. We really specialize in creating functional spaces for our clients to really just improve the way they live in their houses. And that's kind of our passion.
Talk to us a little bit about how you came into your role as a construction business owner. There was an acquisition, if I'm correct. Can you give us a little bit of history about that?
Starting somewhere 2005, 6, 7, somewhere in there, I was at a transition point. I owned a business that had a retail side and a wholesale side, and it was time to get out of it. So I moved over and came to this company, Kitchen Ideas. My wife was already working here and just started managing projects for in the meantime. It was just for the short time because we had a baby on the way, our second. And it was like, let's do this, then I'll decide what I'm going to do. All of a sudden, fast forward to 2018. By that point, I was basically running the company. I was the manager of the company for the owner, had been for the past 5 years. We'd finally come to a point that said, this needs to change hands, and we came up with a buyout agreement. So I jumped in, and my wife and I bought the company. Then, as we all know, COVID hit. So it gave it a lot of fun. But I worked in the company from 2006 to 18 and then bought it in 18. And here we are today.
Let's jump into this topic of how to maximize profitability. When you were on one of our SYCB group coaching calls, you mentioned that you had sort of created a problem, maybe a good problem, in that you were able to shorten your project durations substantially. And that had a kind of a domino effect. Can you unpack that a little bit? What was going on? How were the projects durations shortened? What did you do to shorten them? And just talk about that a little bit.
Our projects at that point in time, they had just developed some form of creep. It was what used to take us last time was taking us longer. less efficient. Everybody can make excuses for that, but the simplicity of it was there just wasn't sufficient planning. Everything was kind of just business as usual. We know how to do this. We're going to do it. And you wasn't planned well. The biggest instigator of change in the whole process had to be adopting a pre-construction process. I mean, by far, that probably made the largest impact of anything. We weren't good at it yet when we started installing it, but, we were good enough to make the needle move. And so by taking the time to plan and not falling into the trap that you talk about so much about just enough to start, which we were so guilty of. I mean, it was one of those things that, we planned a little better for the next project, and all of a sudden a week ticked off. The next project, we put a little more effort into it, and another week ticked off. At the same time, putting time and effort and I think really showing or convincing my team that all the time and effort that we do needs to be at this point of the process, because it's going to make everything easier. Let's put it on autopilot. If we do our job right here, then the rest of it's a breeze. Getting people to understand that and to kind of drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, the more and more it came on and we use that tool, the better our times got. I think another huge impact was because of another event, we had transferred our job site control to a different group of individuals, basically our lead carpenters. For our projects, they're on the site more than any other person. They're there the most frequently. They know something about everybody's trade. They know kind of what everybody needs to be doing or exactly what everybody needs to be doing. So we transferred ownership to them, gave them freedom to own their job, which to watch them enjoy the fact that they own their job was just so rewarding. And of course, them feeling like that, they just put so much effort into everything to make it be more efficient. Installing 1 to 2 week look aheads as a tool, we're still casual. They don't fill out forms and send it in. I think that's a future thing, but just go by the job site. Hey, what do you need next week? The week after? Is there anything we don't have? And striking that 10-minute conversation to, man, dude, it'd be great if we have the tile over here because so-and-so is going to be here on Friday and he could have everything he needed. And just those little simple steps, I think, doing pre-construction, making sure the right people are in charge of the job site, and then just talking with them, saying, hey, what are you going to need? Instead of getting that phone call, so-and-so's here and we don't have the tile. Oh, it's across town. Let's kill a half day, go get the tile, frustrate all of our workers, slow our progress. Really, those 3 areas made such a huge impact, and they're so simple to do that it's kind of silly we weren't doing it before.
You mentioned the just enough to start trap. We talk about this a lot, but for folks who aren't, what does that mean? What does this just enough to start trap mean? What did that look like? What did doing just enough to start look like for you guys before you adopted a good pre-construction process?
For us, especially with kitchens being our passion and probably the most frequent room that we work in, I'll use that as my example. You get the basic design done. Maybe you haven't reviewed every detail with the client, but you've got the big moving parts nailed down, and you get them to make a selection on maybe cabinets and counters and make sure they like those together. And cabinets are long lead time. So you're like, we got to get these ordered. Let's get cabinets ordered, and then we'll decide everything else. And then you get cabinets ordered and you get that deposit, and then the job's going to go now. And maybe we stayed on course and kept making selections, or maybe we're like, we don't need backsplash. We don't need hardware till the end of the job. Let's just wait. So we would do just enough to get the deposit or to get the project on track or to get it to a point that our client even felt comfortable. Hey, we're good. Let's move forward. And then we would start the project. And then decisions would have to be made along the way. And maybe you're in a meeting when the carpenter calls you and says, what do I do with this? So you can't respond to him for an hour or two. And it just snowballs past that point. So it's just enough to get the ball rolling, to get that revenue flowing, to get people working so somebody's not sitting at home. And you feel good for that moment. But then here comes the firefights. Here comes all of the negativity because you don't have a good plan that covers 95% of everything that's needed. Maybe you can't get to 100, but 80 is better than nothing. 90 is even better than 80. And we were in that trap and had always been in that trap. That was just standard process. That's all we knew.
Why are people stuck in that just enough to start? Is it outside forces? Is it in our heads? Is it belief patterns? Is it a form of mental illness? What?
I think it's all those factors, Todd. I mean, really, you put yourself in a situation, and I kind of imagine myself back when I didn't know any better, and all those pressures exist. You've got, it's a construction company, even a small one like we are. You've got lots of trades that rely on you to provide them their income or a part of it, even if you're not most of it or all of it. You do give them income. You do help them put food on the table. You do give them stuff to do. There's pressure when maybe they're not working. You've got staff, and you as a business owner are looking at your staff, and if I get this revenue coming in, then I know they get their paycheck next month. You yourself, maybe you have your own plans and ambitions that are financial or not, and you're just so in the moment that you haven't taken a look at the big picture, and you think that everything's important, and it's fired at you from this machine gun, and I think you get addicted to that adrenaline rush of, yeah, I can handle this. I'm the best at dealing with this rapid fire situation. And every day I come home and the world keeps moving and our company keeps moving, and you think you're being successful. But at the end of the day, you don't normally equate all of the negativity of, I don't spend enough time with my family. I'm constantly stressed. I don't sleep at night. I'm solving problems in my sleep. So I'm half awake and half asleep. All of that negativity just kind of sets in, and you just think, hey, that's part of it, man. That's why I get paid what I get paid. We're stuck in that trap because we haven't allowed ourselves, and if it's not me or if it's not us, the owner, we haven't put somebody in our business that really looks at the big picture, that really says, hey, what's this company look like December of 26, And if we want to look like that, what are we going to do to get there? What are the steps? And so we get so used to that rapid fire decision making and putting out fires and solving problems and being the hero, that really, if we would slow down and look at the process and say, if I want to be here are the steps. It's pretty simple. Let's put a few milestones, make sure we're on track. It just makes life so much easier. And you get to see a better picture as the urgency's kind of removed. It's like, I got till December, so let's kind of get there. It's a lot of things come together to force everybody into that trap.
Yeah. And once you get into that trap, it's really difficult to get out because everything's urgent and you just don't have time. And then I put together a podcast episode on this, and I found this term that I think is pretty rampant in the construction industry, which is what I call urgency addiction. We get addicted to urgency, like it's amazing what we can get done when our back's against the wall. We have to get a check in. We have to get a project across the finish line. I remember I co-opted for I went to work for a large general contractor right out of college. And I remember visiting a large project, probably a $15-20 million project at that time. And it was about 2 months out from completion. There was a lot going on. And I asked the senior project executive, like, so are you guys gonna make it? And he just looked at me like, yeah, we have to. Like, it's not an option. And I think it's amazing what we can get done. We can move heaven and earth when something's urgent. But the problem with that is when things aren't urgent, it's like, that part of the brain that gets really creative and motivated under urgency, it's like, we don't need to do anything with that now. That's not urgent. We can figure that out later. And I think that also feeds into that. So a couple of other things I want to unpack, but let's talk about the results. So you said you were able to put a good pre-construction process in place. You were able to shorten your project durations. How much were you able to shave off your typical project duration?
At one point I did the math because I'm a numbers guy, but I want to say I recall it was at least 25%. We cut it down that much. Maybe maybe even better. At one point, I laugh. Manish laughs with me because I was so focused on improving this part of our business that sales didn't keep up with our efficiencies. We had a brief period that I kind of ran everybody out of work, and everybody kind of laughs about it. It wasn't a dire process, but we got so efficient that what I thought was going to take us the rest of the year to complete, we were done in 8-9 months. It wasn't anything difficult. It was very simple. We just planned and we executed and we talked. And that's all it took, was just those three simple things. And it made a very large impact. And as everybody else in construction, the faster you get projects done, maintaining the same quality, the less time you're in people's homes, the happier your clients are. And it really just creates a positive movement in so many ways for us. That's kind of where I started feeling like there were so many tools and so many things that introduced to me in SYCB, or once I joined the CEO Alliance, that I'm like, yeah, this is going to make an impact. But I think that's kind of when I sat back and said, look at this, we're moving, and we're moving in the right direction. I think that was kind of my aha moment. This is going to be good.
You were able to shorten your durations by 25% on a kitchen remodel. How did that drive profitability? What were some of the probably several ways that affects profitability, in addition to customer experience and all sorts of other things? But what's the main way that you attribute increased profitability to reducing your project durations?
There's less waste. There's less mistakes or gotchas, or I did it this way, isn't that what you want, even though it wasn't on the plan that way. Or it wasn't on the plan to begin with, right? It really compressed. It made the trades more efficient. The first hour of any trade is the most expensive. So the less trips that you can keep them from having to come to a job site, the more that you can have the materials at the ready, or make them aware of what materials are going to be needed so they can pick them up before they show up. It just really reduces time across every single thing in construction, every single thing that's touched. And 10% here and 10% there and a 5% improvement there, it just all works together to create a nice impact, a large impact. And then when you tie back and you look at your fixed overhead, the costs that you're going to have whether you're working on a project or not, the faster you can do the same project and get it completed on time and with the same quality, it just means that it costs you less. So it kind of, again, it's that snowball effect. It's that 1% change, and then a 3% change, and then a 5% change. And then as you start to watch it, it just grows and grows. So, it makes a big change to profitability, and it has so many other benefits.
You said you're a numbers guy. I'm curious if you have a sense of the overall impact on profitability. How much more profitable was your business, say, in the last 12 months versus before you were doing this? Do you have a sense of that difference in profitability?
Our revenue increased by somewhere 25 to 30%. By being more efficient, profitability probably grew by 35 to 38%. It was a large impact for a year. It may be hard for us to sustain that growth, but it was a pretty large impact in just a 12-month period.
We'll get back to the show in a minute, but real quick, are you a home builder or remodeler who's tired of doing free estimates that lead nowhere? Are you tired of investing your expertise and hundreds of hours of your time a year on estimates for unqualified leads and tire kickers? What if instead you could get paid for estimates? If you could get paid for your expertise and position yourself as a premium contractor who attracts better clients? That's exactly why I created the Get Paid for Estimates Masterclass. It's a free step-by-step masterclass that's available for a limited time that shows you how to turn estimates into a profit center and land more profitable clients. In the masterclass, you'll learn a few things. You'll learn the 5-piece bridge to get paid a premium for your estimates. You'll get the 2 sales script with the exact words to show prospects the value of paying you for pre-construction work. And you'll get the pre-construction pricing guide to confidently price your pre-construction services. It's a fully baked system, everything you need. And it's the system that nearly 1,000 home builders and remodelers are using to finally get paid for estimates. So if you want to stop giving away your expertise for free, click the link in the show notes. and sign up for the Get Paid for Estimates Masterclass today. All right, let's get back to the show. I want to talk about pre-construction. What would you say were the most impactful specific steps in your new pre-construction process? When you put together your this is how we do it manual, there's a step-by-step process. Are there a couple of specific steps in that process that really stand out to you that you could say, this really moved the needle by doing that?
Well, I think the first was explaining it to my team and making sure they understood why it was important, what this was going to do for them, right? That's one of the things I've learned through this process is don't tell them why I need it or why the company needs it. Tell it how it's going to help them and get them to understand and buy into, I'm doing this for my own good and it benefits the company at the same time. Once we got that conveyed and people on board, it was creating a checklist, simply creating checklists that when you get to the end of the process of pre-construction, you just have to manually go in and say, did I do that? Check, we're done. That's not needed on this project. Scratch it. We did that. We all in my company, we know what to do. We've always known what to do. But when you get busy and you get involved, sometimes you forget one little piece of the puzzle, and that one little piece of the puzzle maybe derails you a little bit. So I think, outlining the process so that everybody knew, don't make it complicated, make it real simple. We're just going to pick out all the key components they need. What's critical? Let's get it coming. Then let's pick out everything else. Then let's make sure our scope of work and our plans tell everybody what we did and ship it out the door. I'm the king of overcomplicating. I'm the king of overthinking. And I did that at first and it ruffled feathers. But once we made it simple, all of a sudden it just worked.
You mentioned that you transferred ownership of the projects to the lead carpenters and you got the right people having ownership of the projects. Manish had shared, and I think maybe you had even shared this at some point, that while going through SYCB, it became apparent you had maybe the wrong person on the bus or the wrong person in the wrong seat. And it seems like those two statements of we transferred ownership to the right people and we weeded out the wrong person, I think those are connected. Can you talk a little bit about that situation, about what was going on and how you, by going through this process, it weeded out this person who was not the right fit?
It's something that slowly evolved over time under the radar. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It wasn't something that was, wow, this is somebody did something really bad all of a sudden. It was just something that evolved. I think pressures of the craziness we had through COVID kind of really brought everything to life, kind of amplified it, kind of brought it to a breaking point. And like you mentioned, this guy was in charge of managing our projects in the field. He was over coordinating them, managing them. Our project times had increased and kept increasing, by months. Punch drug out forever. Trades were shifted around constantly from one project to the next. They would joke about, where am I going today? Do I have to pack up at the end of the day? It was just like fires were being put out. Attention wasn't being paid to certain things. Communication had changed. It was always, everything's great in the field. It's this, we had a little hiccup and blah, blah, blah. Turns out it wasn't a little hiccup. Maybe it was a big hiccup. And it just kind of evolved in this scenario. I think the person involved, obviously had gotten to a point or had always been thinking about starting their own gig, doing their own thing. Hey, life's going to be better on the other side of the street if I just go do this. And I don't think it was a malicious intent by any way, shape, or form. I think it was just something that was in the back of their mind. So time and attention was focused there, and we allowed it because at that time, going through chaos, I'm the owner sitting there saying, I don't know how I can live without this person. I can't make this whole thing work without this one individual. So you just kind of allow it to go and grow. So it got to a point where it was a cloud in our company. It was dark. Again, I really don't feel like it was malicious in any way, shape, or form. And time changes everything. They say it heals all wounds, whatever it might be. When I look back on that, I want to put some of the blame on me. I think I deserve it. Had we had clear written directives, had we had simple to use, effective tracking and reporting, had we just said, this is your job, this is what it takes to be successful at your job, do this. Could we have avoided that? I don't know, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I know that we would have had a much greater chance of not having that event. So yeah, it was at the time, it seemed like it was going to be this big, wow, we've got to totally shift gears. And we did shift gears and we thought we were going to be digging out. And thankfully, gratefully, we didn't. We got the right people doing the right things. We got communication stepped up. We started telling people, hey, this is your job. This is your role. And we moved forward, and it's been very positive ever since.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned is when you have the wrong person on the bus or the wrong person in the wrong seat, and you make that change, there's always net uplift. Everything gets better. The team does better. You feel better. Call it addition by subtraction. But typically we want to hold on to that person because we have the scarcity mindset. What are we going to do without them? I can't live without them. What if, what if, what if, what if? But if they're the wrong person for the role, then you can't afford not to make a change. That's a tough one. That really seems to poke a lot of fears there. But looking back on it now, what do you wish you would have done differently or sooner to mitigate that situation?
I think it would have been sooner, differently and sooner, of course, just because the tools that we learn and the things that we're given and helped to develop kind of really start to show who's on the bus and who's not. Kind of really starts to show if you have someone in the wrong seat. Maybe they're good for your company. Maybe they're going to be that person that you really need. Maybe you just have them doing the wrong thing. Maybe they need, different tools, this or that. I think it would be defining the roles and responsibilities inside the company, because I think when you have a very clear picture of what's expected or what's needed for any individual role, and then say what's expected and what's a win, and then give them the freedom to get to the win. Doesn't have to be my way, but we're all going to the same place. Had I had those tools, had I been able to think about it differently versus why didn't this person do this? And why did they always do that? And blah, 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 and take the negative side of the coin. Had I had those tools, I think things would be different today. And even if that event would have occurred and is a win-win for both of us, I don't know. Maybe it was a win for the other person. Moving forward, I feel more comfortable and confident that we're not going to be perfect, and we don't know everything we don't know, but we know what things that we didn't know just 15 months ago that are going to make this not necessarily happen again in the same way.
You are an expert user of our revenue maximizer tool, which for those of you listening, you've probably heard, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, you may have heard mention of the revenue maximizer from our CEO Alliance members. Michael, how would you describe the revenue maximizer tool, and how has it helped you to drive profitability?
Well, first I have to say expert is greatly overstated. However, I am committed to it. So let's say I'm committed to using the tool, and you're going to have a hard time prying it out of my hands. The tool it's very simple. And again, I tend to overcomplicate things, and the simplicity of the tool for me was just a breath of fresh air. It's simply you put in your fixed cost on one page. What's my overhead? What's going to occur no matter what? What are my factors? What are my percentages for cost of goods sold? Operating in the field, plug that in, plug in the revenue you expect to get out of your jobs, and then you forecast it. And it's simple. Job A, I think we'll start demo and we'll get through drywall. Go to your budget. What can you bill for that? Okay, let's put it into March. After that, I think we'll get 70% of carpentry and mid plumbing, mid electric. What does all that cost? Put it into April. Put it into May. It's real simple, right? Plug all that in. Do that for all your jobs. Also plug in, what are my best prospects? What's the potential revenue? Just guess at it. It doesn't have to be exact. You know your business. Plug that in. And then all of a sudden you start to see it laid out in front of you for maybe a year at a time, 6 months at a time, whatever your backlog works for you. What a picture of, I've got too much here, or do I have enough labor to do all of that? I don't have enough here. What's everybody going to do? And to me, it was freeing to be able to say, okay, I'm going to have a shortfall. It's now January. I don't know what people are doing in June. So let's start thinking about June. And it's not urgent. And then the tool also has execution plans, which you simply, all of those things you forecasted, you go in and say, okay, if I'm going to get to drywall by the end of March, let's work from right to left. Let's go backwards. I'm at drywall. Finished drywall looks like this. And what are all the steps? What are the materials needed? What are the tools needed? And what needs to be communicated to ensure that I get to drywall to make that number a reality. You're not going to hit it every month, but you'll hit it way more often than you were before. So it's just a really simple process of going through and using this tool. I do it twice a month. I know a lot of people do it once a month. And I maybe spend 30, 45 minutes a session on it. The more I use it, the less time I have to spend using it to just see a really clear picture of kind of what the year looks like. And for me, again, it just took off one more layer of unknowing, one more layer of anxiety. Things look pretty good for 4 or 5 months. Let's not stress out. Let's start working on the next 5 months. While it's not exact and it's not perfect the way that I use it, it is everything that I need to get a real quick snapshot of the work that needs to be done. Later, I started playing with it. I started tweaking it. I think Manish even told everybody at one point, I shared with him that vacations, I've worked too much. Life has been too busy, like a lot of people out there. And I always dreaded vacations. We never planned them, although my wife would have loved to plan it. I was always one, well, I don't know if I can take up. I don't know. It depends on this, depends on that. So we always ended up last minute. And I always was taking money out of savings for a vacation. It's not because I didn't have the money. It was just because I hadn't planned for it and set the money aside. So I just shove everything in saving. It's the same money. You just move the buckets, right? And that was a stressful event for me. And I was like, if I don't want to be stressed out, we did it last year. I'm going to take a vacation in the middle of summer. It's going to cost us X $1,000. I'm going to put that in my revenue maximizer. If I want to prepay for that vacation, then I'm going to have to put in X amount of money every month up until that, and then it's going to pay for it. I did it. Lo and behold, it's the best vacation I've probably ever had. I wasn't stressed about money. Nothing changed hands. It wouldn't have hurt if I would have taken it out of savings. It wouldn't have been this. So it was just the freedom to know that I had this goal. I prepaid for it. I'm there. Let's turn off the phones, enjoy it with the family, and come home and not feel like I have to make that money that we just spent because I made it in advance. And the tool is so simple and flexible that you could put both kids going to college or a year apart. It's in my revenue maximizer now. We had some money saved. We didn't have enough saved. I need to put more in there. It's plugged in for this year. It's plugged in for the next 3 years. It's a freeing event for me because while I always knew that I needed to plan for those someday things, and I'd do a little here and a little there, I don't think I was intentional about it. And I've made this tool work for me in an intentional way. And so I love it.
That qualifies you as an expert user, relative expert user. So it sounds like it's really helped with peace of mind and achieving your goals. What's the number one way you would say the revenue maximizer has helped to drive profitability, if at all?
It's definitely helped drive profitability. We changed a simple thing. We changed our billing procedures based on using the revenue maximizer. We were kind of ad hoc. We were billing this week, billing that week, doing whatever, just whenever time allowed, because I was the person sending out the billing. I didn't have a separate account. And so it's whenever I had time. I went to twice a month. Probably will go to once a month. And it corresponds with my revenue maximizer. If I want to close out January with the revenue numbers, I bill on the 20th or whatever work day is close to the 20th. That gives my clients 10 days to see the bill, transfer money if they need to, shift it over to me, gives me a greater chance of actually seeing the revenue in the bank before the month ends. Simply, that really has helped not only with cash flow, but it's helped with profitability. It was easier for me to see efficiency and productivity. If you're getting behind and things are stacking up and you're not hitting your goals, then that's a profit bleed, right? You're draining. And while I'm looking at a spreadsheet, all of a sudden those numbers told me maybe we need to dial in pre-construction a little more, or maybe we need to are we doing the 1 and 2 week look aheads enough? It gives you if we're not making this number, there's got to be a why. And then it gives you the freedom to say, okay, well, the why may not be in the numbers, but what's causing it? So in doing that, it helps me kind of see areas of my business where we're lagging and maybe we just need a little more attention. And anytime you do it and shorten those timelines and increase productivity and quality at the same time, your profit's going to go up. It just really is.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get back to the show in just a second. If you're a construction business owner, let me ask you this. Are you feeling trapped in your business? Maybe you can't take a real vacation without being on call 24/7. Or when you finally do step away, you know there's going to be a mess waiting for you to clean up when you get back. Or maybe the constant stress of putting out fires and carrying all the responsibility and making all the decisions is keeping you up at night. And you're worried about losing a good employee, or it's affecting your health, or worse, it's keeping you from being present with your family. What if instead you could finally step back from the day-to-day chaos, take back control of your time, and build a business that runs profitably and smoothly, even when you're not there? If that sounds good, I'd like to invite you to book a free business evaluation call with my team. In just one call, we'll help you get crystal clear on 3 things: the root cause of the biggest problems in your business, the goals and vision you want to achieve for your company and your life, and we'll map out a personalized roadmap you can follow to make that vision a reality. Look, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners systematize their business so they can work less, earn more, and actually enjoy their lives. And we can help you too. But the first step, it's up to you. Head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply to book your free call, or just click the link in the show notes. Don't wait until it's too late. Take the first step toward freedom today. All right, let's get back to the show. I want to shift gears and talk about a concept that may be related to the Revenue Maximizer, maybe not. When we were in Naples, Florida in November for our most recent live event, we sat next to each other at dinner, and Nate Milkey and myself and you were sitting at one end of the table, and maybe I was asking you, sounds like you're a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and we're talking about skiing, I think, and you'd mentioned maybe a hyperextended elbow, and we were talking about skiing styles, and I know you drive race cars, and this concept of eyes up came up, and we talked about eyes up as it related to skiing, eyes up as it related to driving a race car. Can you talk about what does that mean when you're driving a race car? Is there a business application to this concept of eyes up? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a business application there. I don't feel like an adrenaline junkie, but when you list out the things that I've done over my life, maybe I am. But, when it comes to almost any sport, to be quite honest, but in particular, driving race cars or high performance driving on track, maybe you're not in an actual race, but a lot of us just do it for fun and to learn. And I help instruct people how to drive their sports car, whatever car they bring to the track, and how to do it. And one of the things that we teach is look further ahead than you think you need to look. And in driving, it's really, really simple. If you're focused 5 feet in front of your car, you're looking right over the hood, right down at the road. Everything's coming at you so fast, and you're turning left, but you don't see the right turn coming up until you get to the right turn coming up. If you sit back and look further ahead, you're like, oh, I've got a left, then I've got a right, and then I've got a long straight. What's the most efficient path through there? You rapidly plan, and you probably take a different route than you would because there's more of a clear picture. Speed slows down. The further you look in advance, the slower you feel like you're going. And it doesn't matter if you're going 70 miles an hour or 120 miles an hour. The further you look out into the distance, it's not coming at you like this rush of a tidal wave, and everything slows down in your mind. And you feel like, hey, I've got time to do this. Just like with the Revenue Maximizer, if I'm thinking 6 months from now, or if I'm thinking a year from now, I'm sitting in my chair thinking, I've got time to solve this problem, and I want to solve it correctly. So let's just take a little time and think about this, because I don't need to know this tomorrow. I can tell them in a few weeks. I can tell them in a month, and we'll hit our goals. It's the same with mountain biking, as Nate was saying, or race car driving, or even many other sports. It's look out further than you need. Scan back to the present. Don't forget the present. Scan back. Check that everything's okay. Then look off in the distance again. When you do those things, it really gives you a clarity and again, removes urgency and makes the process so much more enjoyable and it makes you better at it.
I actually had a conversation with one of our CEO Alliance members, and he used that exact terminology. He said, it feels like the game has slowed down now. It used to be really fast, used to be really urgent. And he's grown his team, grown his revenue, grown his profits. Everything's moving in a very positive direction. But he said it feels like the game has slowed down. And a lot of that comes from what you're saying, looking further down. I heard an interview with Jeff Bezos several years ago, and a reporter had asked him, like, Jeff, Amazon's results this quarter have crushed it. What do you think about that? And he said, I'm not thinking about this quarter. We made plans for this quarter 9 months ago. And right now I'm thinking about 9 to 12 months from now. That goes along exactly with what you're saying is eyes up, look further down the road, plan ahead, get out of urgency mode, and things will slow down. Yeah.
I think another helpful thing with that, Todd, is just a little catchphrase. I do use eyes up. And somebody I follow in performance driving, he's a coach, he's done lots of things, said, come up with that phrase. And the minute you catch yourself getting lost in the weeds, say eyes up, look ahead. And then, so if I'm driving and something becomes difficult or I'm focusing too close, I tell myself that phrase. And I think we can do that in business too. I think if we catch ourselves in the weed, just pause and come up with a 2 or 3 word phrase that reminds you to focus on what's important. Say that phrase to yourself in your head, say it out loud, and get yourself back on track. And then all of a sudden, that tool becomes way more beneficial.
Let's talk about some of the results you've seen from the work you've done. You went through our Systematize Your Construction Business program. You've been in our CEO Alliance for quite some time now. What's different about your business and life compared to before you started working with us?
Less stress, less anxiety, less chaos. We still have work to do like everybody else. I mean, there's no end game here. I feel like I'm in the infinite game. We're slowly improving each and every day. And every day it's just making big headway, deliberately taking vacations. Just yesterday at lunch before my daughter went back to college, we're planning our summer vacation. We had a choice of bring the entire family to see you guys in Miami or take a bigger trip in the summer. And everybody voted for a bigger trip. So I'll see you guys in Miami. Kids wanted something different, right? We're actively doing that. I'm spending more time with my family, but more importantly, the time that I spend with them, I'm mentally here. It's like I would show up and maybe I'd help cook dinner. Maybe I would sit down but my mind was somewhere else. It was solving a problem that didn't need solved in that moment. But, that for me has been big. Taking care of my mental and physical. Not like I was on the edge of a cliff, don't get me wrong. But Manish had mentioned somebody in our group, I think it's been said on your podcast before, they started walking and listening to audiobooks because that was the best way they could figure out how to get that in their day. And I was like, I can do that. I can do that. I'm a morning person. So now every morning, at least 6 days a week, I go out for a 30-minute walk. I don't care how far I go. I just go for 30 minutes. I listen to a book. I listen to music. It's part of my morning routine. There's no email. There's no text. There's no opening a web browser until I've gotten my tea, read a little bit, done my morning walk, ease myself into the day. And on those walks, I find myself just thinking, what's really important today? All the stuff that people are going to throw at me, what's really important? It's giving me a little bit of just control over my day. And I think that starts to trickle down in that when I start to feel less stressed and I'm not barking orders and I'm more easy come, easy go. And I'm like, yeah, that's all important, but can we really focus here today? And I do it with that attitude. I think it starts to filter down to the team and all of a sudden they feel like, hey, this is getting a little better. And then it just creates, again, that proverbial domino effect that, and we've seen big changes in that. Got feedback from people in the office. And one of the feedbacks was, everything's always negative. Everything is like problems. Why don't we focus on the good? So much like you do in SYCB and CEO group, we start everything with wins. What's good? It can be your personal life. It can be this. And such a little simple thing to not start out with the biggest problem you've got to solve. Let's talk about what's good. We have instilled that, and it's part of our process. And that little simple things just makes a huge difference in our life, and tons of positive change that aren't even business related. And to me, that's probably where I needed the most growth. And it's refreshing that I'm now on a good path.
Let's talk about the CEO Alliance for a few minutes. How would you describe the CEO Alliance in your own words? And what would you say being a part of that group has done for you?
The CEO Alliance has been key to keeping me on track. When I first joined it, for me, it was to hold me responsible. Sometimes as an owner, as the boss, whatever we want to call ourselves, we don't feel like we have anybody to report to. We don't have anybody to hold us accountable. Maybe sometimes we don't even write down our goals because are we good at holding ourselves accountable? So when I first joined, for me, it was taking all the tools I'd learned in SYCB, and now I felt like I had a reason to set aside a small amount of time in my week to work on these things. It gave me a reason to do it religiously, maybe an excuse to the team. I can't help you today. I got to go do this, to get me into that habit, to get me to where I was telling myself it was the most important thing and I needed to do it. I think that's why I initially joined. Throughout the process, being able to do one-on-ones with your coach, for me, that's my niche. To dig deeper, to dig into things that are maybe off topic from the group or specific to you, to having just be a reality check. I think you're overdoing this, or I think you've followed the wrong rabbit down this hole. What if we did this? What if we do that? Or even once he realizes maybe I've grasped something like the revenue maximizer and I'm using that tool, maybe then it's just a subtle hint to not keep using that tool as is, but now let's focus on this. You've got that down. Let's go over here. It helps keep you in development, to be able to talk with your peers, to solve problems together, to think of new ideas. We all do something different inside our group. We're all in the construction industry, but we've all got our own segments, and we don't do everything the same. Some things are common, but every now and then somebody shares just one piece of information that gets the wheels turning in your head, and all of a sudden it helps you solve a problem that maybe you didn't even know you had, or a problem you've been thinking about for months. And sometimes it's helpful just to say, hey, I've got this problem. I don't know how to conquer it. Can you guys help me? It's really nice. People jump in. It's a good group of people. When we go to the meetups, you get to see people in other groups, and the atmosphere is the same. Everybody's helpful. Everybody's hoping that you're going to do good, and you're hoping they're going to do good, and we're all going to do what little piece we can to help each other. It's a really good feeling, and it gives you somewhere to go, because so often we get caught up in directing everybody and planning this and planning that we forget that, hey, sometimes we just need peer conversation. We need somebody that understands our problems, understands what we're going through. We don't have to explain it to them, and then we can just talk. For me, it's invaluable. I think it's a big part of our success and continuing growing as a company. We're still in an infancy with all the changes we made, but it gives me hope that somebody's going to be there at all times should I bump into something that I need help with.
So many of us entrepreneurs feel like we have to do it ourselves, right? We have to be the lone wolf. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. Nobody can help you. We believe that stuff, and it's just not true. It's not helpful. And there's so much security and comfort, security in numbers, right? And there's so much to that. And everybody's out there trying to do the same thing. And what I like about the CEO Alliance is we have people from all over the country, like yourself, very generous, want to help other people, no holds barred, not holding back the good stuff like peers in your local market might do because they don't want to give away trade secrets. But we have these people who are like, hey, I learned this thing. This is working for me. This has really helped me. And it's just incredible how generous people are and how much value they want to give. And I think people want to give a little bit more than they get, which maybe that's what makes it so special. So we have people who they're more as interested, maybe a little more interested in giving than receiving. And that creates a nice little flywheel effect of value. Yeah. Michael, congratulations on the success. I look forward to watching your continued success and growth. So you've got an audience of some of the most attractive, resourceful, smart construction business owners here. And yes, I am being pandering to you guys. Any advice? If you had a couple of minutes to give advice to this group of folks, anything else you would share with them?
The thing that really helped me the most was creating a CEO calendar, whether you call yourself a CEO or not. I'm not much into titles, but give yourself a calendar and set aside time to work on things. Time that you turn the phone off. Don't look at email, text, get all that stuff away from you. That was the first step in this journey, and you guys helped us build that. Why that was a huge impact on me is I was in the trap of someday when everything's right, I'll work on this and we'll do that. And someday, well, someday never came because I was always in the moment, not in the weeds, if you will. Once the calendar was created and I guarded my deep work sessions, my quiet time to work on the company, all of a sudden, all the other tools that were introduced, all the other deep thinking that I need to do for my company, where are we really going? I had time to work on it. And then everything started to fall in place. So if nothing else, whatever's urgent and important to you right now in this moment as a business owner, probably not important in the grand scheme of things, to be quite honest. Whatever fire you're putting out right now, what happens if you don't put it out? What happens if you take the same time and say, how do I not do that, have that fire again? Let somebody else deal with that today. How do we not have this happen again? Stepping back from the moment and eyes up, look ahead, focus in on where you're going. It's going to pay you so many dividends in the future, and it's going to have so many side benefits that you probably really won't believe how much impact it'll have in your life. So spend time on what's important, and that's looking ahead.
Great advice. Great advice. Good stuff. Michael, if folks want to connect with you, follow you on social media, apply for a job, learn more about your company, where are the best places or the best place for them to go?
The best place would be our website. It's kitchendesign.com, all one word and singular. So kitchendesign.com. We're doing some update to it right now. So if a page isn't working here or there, then come back. But that's probably the best place to see who we are, what we've done, what we do. If it's something you wanted to connect with me directly, then you could email me, Michael, Michael, at kitchendesign.com. Reach out to me directly, and if I can help you, I'll do my best. If not, hopefully I can point you in the right direction.
Sounds great. I'll be sure to include those links and your email address in the show notes. So, Michael, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you in Miami in a couple of months.
We'll be there. Thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate you and your team so much.
Hey, it's Todd. Before you go, if you own a construction business and you know you need to put the right systems in place, whether it's to be able to scale up, to be able to take a proper vacation, step away from day-to-day operations, if you know you need to make it more profitable, or even prepare it for a future sale, if you know you need to make some changes in your business, there are really only three options. And I want to clarify this for you. Option one is do nothing. Keep doing the status quo. Same inputs, same results. Keep doing the same thing that you've been doing. Option two is to DIY it, to do it yourself. You can try to reinvent the wheel, piece together solutions from books and podcasts, hope that trial and error gets you where you want to go. In my experience, this is the path of most resistance. Or there's option three, which is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Think about it. It's sort of like when you sign up for software for project management or bookkeeping, you probably didn't try to code your own software, right? You found a system that works. So that's a proven system that gets you the results you're looking for. Well, if you're ready to systematize your construction business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our proven processes, including our Nail the Handoff pre-construction system. It works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors, and trade contractors like electricians, plumbers, roofers. The first step is simple. Schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. Just click the link in the show notes to book your call. On that call, you'll walk away with clarity on the hidden root causes of your biggest challenges. You'll learn about the pitfalls that you want to avoid as you move forward with your business, and you'll walk away with a customized roadmap that you can follow to get where you want to go. This is not a sales pitch, okay? There's no pressure. We may not even talk about working together. You may not even hear about our program. This is all about evaluating your business. It's going to be the most valuable hour that you've spent working on your business in a long time. So don't wait. Click the link in the show notes to book your free business evaluation call now. And the last thing, if you've been enjoying this podcast and getting value out of it, I've got a quick favor to ask. Could you take a moment and leave a 5-star rating and maybe a short review on the platform that you're listening or watching on? It really helps the podcast grow. It lets other people know what to expect. Plus, I love to hear your feedback. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. My name is Todd Dawalt from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com, and I'll catch you on the next episode.